How does Lean play a part in the organization's culture and help you to achieve your business objectives?
Well, I think first of all, it helps create a set of clear mentoring tools. And you build it on a focus on your customer, you create a common language, you begin to describe what you're doing as a business and the flow through the organization, and that allows you to coach and to teach at all levels in the organization. So instead of culture being created sort of department by department, leader by leader, Lean provides a mechanism for creating a uniform culture that's focused on the customer and focused on the business objectives. I think the second thing that it really does is it takes the emphasis off whether people have done something well or not. So somebody gets put into a leadership role. Are they a good leader? Are they a bad leader? Do they solve problems well, or do they not solve problems well? And it takes teams of people and says, let's focus on problem-solving skills and how to attack processes and systems as opposed to how do we fix people and things like that. So those are the two things that I really see changing a culture. And by definition, it takes an organization and shifts it away from individualism and heroes and things like that, and it moves it towards a learning organization and a participatory organization. And all the research suggests that teams come up with better solutions than individuals and heroes. So I see it as a tremendous tool for changing culture.
So since you've adopted Lean in your organization, have you been able to identify or see those changes in the culture and get some kind of feedback or response on those things?
Oh yes, I mean they're the hard to measure things in a way, but you see walls between departments breaking down. You see people at levels of organizations who had ideas that really didn't have a format for them, like finding a format for them, maybe in committees or task force or team meetings, but suddenly those things are possible. So from that, you begin to see people working on things that are of common interest to the business and then learning the skills that will really prepare them for another level in the organization. So it's a very natural mentoring tool. Instead of somebody coming into the department, seeing a problem, saying, here, do this, and that'll fix it. Mm-hmm. That person walks into the department and says, how would you fix it? And it creates a whole other dynamic. And I don't think we're done, but I think we've gone from a disparate collection of people who were more or less working on the same things to a body of people who are really united about where we're going. And I think it's a significant culture change.
A lot of companies also view Lean as purely as a cost-cutting mechanism. In fact, a lot of people even think it's a way to reduce headcount. But mm-hmm. I think that's an incorrect assumption. But how do you view Lean as it's applied to revenue growth specifically? Well,
one of the things I do is I sometimes put quotes up on a wall that capture big ideas. And when people get the lecture that goes with the big idea, then the quote suffices to remind them over and over. And one of the quotes I have on our conference room wall is, if you don't give people a reason to buy, then price becomes the only consideration. And I think that another thing that Lean does, besides just drive out waste and cost, is it really does focus your organization on the customer and on delivering value. And whether intentionally or inadvertently, the delivery of a product at its maximum value in a time-sensitive way where quality and delivery matter gives the customer a reason to buy. So I think that inadvertently that's maybe not what everybody sets out to do, but if your focus is not specifically on the tools, but actually on the customer, I think it really gets you there. The second thing that I do think that Lean does, if you really pay attention to Lean principles, don't focus only on the tools, but all of the aspects of what it teaches about people and their role. I think it engages people in problem-solving activities that sometimes are cost-related, sometimes are waste-related, but sometimes are just quality-related. And the two are so intertwined that it's awfully hard to separate them. So if you fix a problem with the delivery of the product, you may drive out cost, but you may also increase value. So I think that an overemphasis on the tools themselves may cause us sometimes to not talk with our associates about the customer and the delivery of value to the customer, which really at its heart is the underpinnings of Lean.
John, performance metrics are certainly very important to organizations, being prudent about what they're doing and how well they're doing. Does Lean have an important part of, can Lean, excuse me, be measured, and is it something to be tracked?
That's an interesting question. I mean, the answer clearly is yes. One of the things that you learn is how to identify the things that matter, give people ways to measure, and use that as a way of checking your progress as you go along. And I don't have a problem with that. I think it makes sense, and I think it has a lot to do with it. But I sometimes joke, you know, I'll get a resume from somebody looking for a job, and the last company they were at, they saved $83 million on Lean projects, and I think, why are you not looking for a job? You know, I mean, I think you can get into adding up these things and adding up these dollars, and they can become a little bit of an obsession that at times is unhealthy. And so I think you need to have you need to have others' perspectives. So the other perspective that I sometimes talk with my folks about is, listen, we're on a journey, and when two lines diverge, if they just diverge even a little bit, in the short run, it's not much of a difference. And you can compare two companies and say, they're the same. But the further out along that line you travel, the further those lines get apart. And as you approach infinity, they're infinitely far apart. And I think that one of the things that's really easy to miss is that when you start on the Lean journey and you start treating people with respect, you start involving them and engaging them in their work, you start creating a learning environment where people are not afraid that they're going to be attacked for having problems, but they're going to be helped in solving problems. I mean, these seem like really small things, and I think it's really hard to measure, but over time, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I don't know quite how you measure where you would have been and where you get to. But I think there's a huge difference.
John, Turkey Hill is, as you've said over and over again, really value their employees, and it's really a key part of the organization, as is product quality. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's our roots, and I don't want to make people uncomfortable when I talk about it, but when Charles and Emerson and Glenn founded the company, they were Lancaster County, Anabaptist, very religious. They believed in honoring God and what they did, and so the money was secondary to them, and what they were doing was about family and friends and community. And while we're a public company today, and some of that is in the rearview mirror, those values have been retained in many ways and re-expressed. So our number one enduring principle is treat all people with fairness and respect, and we mean it. I mean, it's not a statement, it's a real heartfelt thing. And I found an enormous attraction as I was reading various things about Lean towards that I think sometimes people miss, and we talked about this earlier. They start focusing on the tools, and they see what the tools will do, and I try to caution people wherever I can. Remember, all the tools in the world won't help you. People do things for a reason, and usually those reasons are very personal. And so if you're not relating to the people who work for you and understanding what motivates them, they're going to have a hard time really caring about you and what motivates you. And so we're very blessed. We had those roots, if you will, and we've been able, I think, to leverage that and build on it. But I don't think it's special to us necessarily. I think it's a heartfelt thing.
Well, John, I want to thank you again for spending some time with us and sharing your views. We appreciate your time, certainly. It's very valuable. And actually for also speaking today at the Leadership Series event.
Yep, it's a privilege. Thanks.
Thank you.